Welcome back. You are tuned into Traders Nation. My pleasure to have back with us once again Floyd Upperman. Floyd, welcome to Traders Nation. How are you today?
Good, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Good. Glad to have you here. All right, Social Security. I don't know, Floyd. We got today's topic, of course, Social Security. We do have a lot of other messes, Medicare, et cetera, et cetera. But can we fix Social Security? Is it entirely possible? Because you're saying by the year 2020, we're going to have big problems.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's going to be insolvent. By then, you're going to have more money coming out of it than you have money going into it.
Yeah.
And so there's no doubt it's a big problem. It's out there. It's coming. Right now, it's not getting a lot of attention, not a lot of media attention, because there's so many other things going on.
Right.
So that's taking the focus off of it. But this is something that's coming, and it's coming rather quickly.
Yeah.
If things are done in advance to get in front of this, I think that we can solve it.
All right.
But if nothing is done, and we're constantly putting out all these other fires, then pretty soon this one's going to erupt.
Yeah.
And it'll be the same thing. We'll be trying to put that one out, and it will be a bad time to try to deal with it when the problem's right there.
Floyd, let me jump in here. Okay.
Yeah.
A good example would be Freddie and Fannie. Okay.
Perfect.
Actually, this is a better example. Why? Because people thought Freddie and Fannie, well, certain people thought Freddie and Fannie were untouchable, when the fact of the matter was other people had recognized that there was a potentially huge problem there, and they tried to put in regulation to restrict the losses potentially Freddie and Fannie could have, considering the amount of subprimes that they were doing, and they meant nothing but democratic firewalls. Now,
yeah, there for a time it was people putting their heads in the sand. They're burying the ostrich heads in the sand.
That's right.
Nobody really wanted to make any waves because everybody was making out pretty good for a short period of time.
That's right, for a short period of time. But here's the difference. We do know that once the feds are involved, because let's face it, they were an ugly stepchild of the feds, Freddie and Fannie. And we do, but here's the thing, though, is that was a big surprise to Americans. Now, having said that, Floyd, the Social Security problem is not a big surprise. That's been discussed for I don't know how long. And if this isn't a wake-up call to Americans, I don't know what would be.
You're exactly right. And it needs to be looked at right now. It needs to be back on the plate. It needs to be debated. The solutions need to be debated, and we need to get to work on it. What I have proposed, an idea, is what we heard from the last election was a possibility, and the Republicans really brought this up, and I think it was a great idea, but just the timing was poor.
Yeah.
But the idea of taking some money and allocating it into the stock market. The Social Security fund gets less than 2% return. Less than 2%.
Right, not enough.
Right, on the money that's in the fund, which isn't a whole lot because we know that a lot of that money is just IOUs, basically.
Right.
But the money coming into the fund, people that have money taken out of their payrolls, that money does go into the fund. And right now there is more money going into it than is coming out of it. But that changes in 2020. That's when it becomes insolvent.
Okay.
If right now we could take a portion of that money that's going in it and put it into the stock market, we could get a double whammy effect here to where we could push the problem with Social Security out, the insolvency problem, out to at least 2040, and at the same time we could resolve the problem in the stock market where we have a lot of money leaving the stock market and it's not going to come back because it's baby boomer money, and they're not going to put it back in the market.
Right. Now, here's the thing. Let's talk about this. Back then, it would have been bad timing. Why? Because we would have been worse off. There's no argument about that, considering what we know now. We didn't know it then, but knowing what we know now, we would have been worse off. Now, I see your point here. I see your point. At some point, because you've got people that's smart money, that's smart traders, and they're saying, which one do I buy? Because there's a lot of good companies out there, fundamentally, are just dragged down by the market. So maybe while the money's not coming in yet, the bulls aren't showing their heads yet, maybe take and implement this plan as far as the Social Security system.
I mean, it'd be the best. If you look back in history and find all the big declines that we've had in the stock market, those were all the best times to buy. No one wants to do it then because we're all, we're emotional.
Well, maybe if no one wants to do it, maybe the bull needs to be the Fed.
That would be the place to get it going, but we got to get the people behind it too. And people don't understand people go off their emotions and they become afraid when the market's coming down. They take their money out. They don't put money to use when they should.
Right.
They should put it in there.
Right.
To get the better returns. Well, we got this big problem with Social Security. It's out there. It's a ticking time bomb.
I agree.
It's coming. And if something's not done about it, it could dwarf this problem with subprime that we've had.
I agree with you, and I think it's a big, big problem. And sooner or later, we're going to have to address it. And in my opinion, I think it's going to be sooner versus later. All right, so outside of investing in the stock market, because you know what? People are uncertain about the stock market. They don't trust it really at this point. Is there another way that we can overhaul the Social Security system?
Well, that's the proposal that I think that makes the most sense, because you could kill two birds with one stone, basically. I mean, you could save the stock market from what I think is going to be in a long-term sideways to declining market, much like what we had in 1962 to 82, where it went nowhere. Much like what the Japanese have been dealing with since 1987, 1988, when their market topped out.
Sure.
If we do something now like that, that could put some fuel in the market and put a floor under it and keep it from falling any further.
All right. Now,
but if we don't do that, then we're going to have not only a problem with Social Security, but we're going to have this ongoing problem with our economy, because the economy is tied to the stock market. Job creation is tied to the performance of companies.
Sure.
So we've got to have a good performing stock market. The whole thing, we've got to have everything working for the economy to continue to grow.
And let's face it, people are shaken up. Again, people are scared about the stock market right now.
Right.
There's huge hesitations that are going on out there. They actually feel that Wall Street is to blame for this huge problem that we have. They forget about all the representatives that misrepresented them. They forget about the Freddie and Fannie debacle. They forget about all that. They're blaming it on Wall Street. Why? Because Wall Street's a perfect target to be the beaten boys for for everybody's problems.
Well, look, there's lots of blame to go around, and no doubt Wall Street has their share of it.
They do have their share in it. Let's face it, they do. But also too, they were given the green light by the feds.
You take away all the regulations, and the cat will play. It's just the regulations need to be there in a capitalistic society like this, and the way that the market's got to function with regulation and oversight, it has to be there.
Yeah.
Otherwise, these kind of things will happen.
Right. All right.
And that's just human nature. To push risk further and further along until something like this happens.
Right.
And it wasn't just the Wall Street guys involved in it. Lots of people were putting money in the stock market, and back in when Greenspan said it was irrational exuberance. Back in that's when it was around 6,000 in 1996, 1997.
Yeah.
So it's not just the Wall Street guys, but there's a lot of people that were getting greedy in here.
A lot of people were, from Wall Street to Main Street to
I think so.
To our elected officials.
I think so.
All right. Now, how important is it to invest by age group? I do want to talk about that briefly, because at some point people are wondering, when do we get back in the market? When do we try to find the bottom? And experts are saying, hey, don't try to look for a bottom at some point. When should people be looking to go back in?
Well, I think now is a good time if you got a long-term horizon. And long-term, that can be defined. I've heard people say long-term is 5 years. I've heard people say 10 years.
Sure.
And some people even say 2 years.
Right.
But I think, you got to have like 20-year horizon. And if you've got that kind of horizon, and if you're in your 40s or younger, then you should be putting money to work right now.
Sure.
Right now, because it will recover. This will be a good buying opportunity.
I think
Down the road, we'll look at this as if this was a great buying opportunity.
Yeah.
But it's going to take some time. If you look at where we are over the last 10 years, and a lot of the major indexes have just done nothing.
Yeah.
And some of them are actually underwater.
Right.
So we've already gone through 10 years of kind of stagnant growth in the stock market. We could go through another 10 years of it. But at some point, we're going to come out of this thing. If the right decisions are made and they handle Social Security properly, they do something about it before it blows up. At some point, you got to believe in the American, basically what it comes down to pull himself together and pull himself up by the bootstraps, so to speak.
So we need to do. That's what we need to do.
Get going again.
That's right.
Right now, everybody's afraid.
Yeah, and we need to be self-reliant, in my opinion.
All right. Oh, absolutely. Last thing we want is we don't want the sovereign money pouring into the market, which is out there, and taking over all the big American entities and corporations. We don't want that.
That's right.
We would like to keep it in American hands. That's what I would like to do anyway, being an American.
Yep.
And that's why I'd like to see the Social Security money put to work into the market instead of sovereign money, instead of money coming from outside the country.
Yep.
I'd rather see our own money.
I think you're absolutely right. I agree with you 100%. Floyd, where can we find you?
Upperman.com, www.upperman.com. My email address is floyd@upperman.com. And, we're on the web. Lots of information there on the website, lots of free information there. And you can email me anytime. It's floyd@upperman.com.
All right, Floyd Upperman, folks, once again, excuse me. And you can head on over to Floyd's site today. And as always, Floyd, do appreciate your time here in Traders Nation, all right? Not so long for the next visit, all right, Floyd?
Thank you. No problem.
You're more than welcome, Floyd Upperman. Head on over to his website today. Great information. Floyd is absolutely right. Our next problem that we're going to run into is going to be Social Security, Medicare. You thought that Freddie and Fannie was a problem? Social Security and Medicare, huge. And I don't know how we're going to do this. Stay tuned. We'll be back on the other side more.